Hi, welcome to Surviving the Diagnosis. It's happened to all of us. Today is Guest Monday, and I'm Sandy Conkar, your co-host and founder of CaregiverSanity.com, along with the co-host Peggy Mangan of Joy After Cancer. Hi, Peggy.
Good morning, Sandy, and our
We're
special guest, Deborah.
Yeah, we're very excited to have our guest, Deborah Miller, today. She has a Ph.D. in cell and molecular biology and is passionate about helping people feel empowered and capable of maintaining a healthy state of mind and body. And she also volunteers at a children's cancer center wing in, to pronounce it correctly, Oaxaca, in Mexico, applying EFT and energy techniques to the children, parents, and nurses, helping them reduce stress, fear, and anxiety while improving their mental and emotional health in a way that is complementary to the treatments given at the hospital. And Deborah also is helping these children lead to a heart, or I'm sorry, Deborah is also helping lead a heartfelt, passionate, inspired goal. She is dedicating herself to helping at least 1 million men, women, and children prevent future illness, that's emotional, mental, or physical, using the simplest, easiest, and most economic methods. And her philosophy is tap, eat, and drink your way to health. And we would like to welcome Deborah right now. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Sandy and Peggy. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're excited to have you.
Very excited to have you and looking forward to it all month. The one topic that we had discussed briefly was about speaking to our bodies or to our blood cells. And I just would like you to touch upon that because I know you have so much information to share with us today. But that is one that I would like, if you can, to just give a little bit of insight on how somebody can do that and basically feel better and what the benefits are besides feeling better.
I'll kind of give a little background first. I studied cell and molecular biology, so I have a deep love and understanding of cells. And so when Bruce Lipton came out with all the aspects of epigenetics and how the genetics don't completely run our life, really what it is our cells have receptors on the outside. So basically we can think of like a little ball with little antennas out here, and they're just listening to everything you say and you think and you feel and what your environment's like and what your food's like, and it sends a message inside to the cell and tells the cell what to make. If it needs to make a hormone or a protein or make some other fats or whatever it needs to make in your body. So this makes us very powerful because that means our cells are listening to us all the time, okay? And they're perceiving what is going on. So we can have a great influence on them by what we think and what we say and what we feel, okay? And this is great because that is to our benefit. And so when we want to start speaking to ourselves, we also need to start listening to ourselves because they're also giving us clues. So there's the two sides, right? One is we want to speak to ourselves and we want to tell them what we would like them to feel and do, etc., etc. So we can do that on a cognitive level, but yet underneath that we have all these hidden beliefs that may or may not be in agreement with what we're saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the classic thing, you know, where somebody says, "I want to lose weight," and the more they say it, the more they gain weight, right? Because they've got to switch somewhere. So this is our body listening to what we're saying and then following these underlying rules that it has, these underlying beliefs. So we need to get to both of those, and that makes it really interesting and fun. So it's part of the adventure. But part of the adventure is learning first to listen to ourselves. What are our cells telling us? What is our body telling us? Oh, I have a headache. It's right back over here. Or, oh, my eyes are really tired, or my tummy hurts. Our body is speaking to us all the time. But most of the time we ignore it, and we just push past it, and we keep running. I got to do this. I got to finish this. I have a deadline, and we're all worried. So what we're doing is we're sending in a message that we can't listen to our body, and that we aren't going to listen to it, even though it's telling us to stop, to relax, to take a little time off or whatever, or drink water, or eat some fruit or some vegetables. We don't listen. So one of the things that we have to do is learn to listen to our body, right? So we need to pay attention to these signals. And some of it is just starting with the intention, Body, I want to listen to you. What are you trying to tell me by this ache or by this tiredness? What do I need to do? And that helps us start getting into the body and start listening to it and sending it better messages. And
Well,
EFT is a great way to get into that. Go ahead, Peggy.
That's amazing because, most people are not taught to listen to their body. Like us in the energy medicine kind of field, we use the sensations in the body to do our modalities. Where do you feel this in your body? What color is it? I think it's just amazing that you're showing these kids to pay attention, and it's their body speaking to them. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and the majority of people don't know. I mean, healthy people don't know. And so when we're sick, most likely even less. And so then we look at the pain, and I like looking at, well, where is the cancer in this case with these children? Is it a liver, or is it their kidney, or is it a lymphoma, or is it in their blood? And that gives us indication as well as to the emotions underneath it. Because most people know about Louise Hay, and she talks about, heal your body, and it's looking at each organ. And so me as a scientist, I look at it from the emotional aspect, and I like to look at it from what is its biological function in the body, because that gives us an indication as well as to why this is occurring there in that part of the body. Okay, so we can look at gallbladder and liver just as a simple example, because they make, the gallbladder makes bile, and when we think of bile, we think of anger, and it's that ugly kind of chartreusey, orangey, yellow, green color. I mean, so when you just think about it on that aspect, you have a real indication, and that ties into helping the liver function. So we can look at, well, where does this person have a lot of anger, or where does their inheritance include a pattern of anger? And so you can just use that as a clue. It doesn't mean that that's 100% what's going on, because I think there's two things now. There's the underlying emotional patterns that we have, that we've learned from our parents, from our grandparents, from our society. And then we also have the aspect of, the world just isn't as clean as it was before. There's a lot more toxins, and we need to take care of both of them. So how do we talk to our body? Our body's going, you know what? I'm clogged up. I got heavy metals, and I can't digest this food, and it's, transgenic, and it's made with all kinds of colorants and flavorings that are detrimental to my body. And it's complaining in the way that it can. And so it's learning how to listen to that and then respect those two parts. The emotional part, and EFT is fabulous for working with that and clearing that out and clearing out the underlying beliefs. And then how do we do simple detox? And sometimes it's just getting people to drink more water, and simple things like that. And then, help the body on the physical level. How do you clean it out, and then how do you feed it? Because the body is asking for something. So these cells are asking us, to pay attention to their needs. It's like, why do sometimes I have cravings for cashews, and then other times it's hazelnuts, and then why do I want mangoes, and I haven't eaten a pineapple in months, but now I want a pineapple, and no, I don't want kale right now. I want red lettuce. Our body's speaking to us, and as we listen to it, we can honor it, and then listen to the ones where it's saying, I want sugar, sugar, sugar. Is it really because it wants sugar, or is it because it wants energy and that it needs a rest? So then we can look at all those aspects and tie them in to create something that's more beneficial for our healing process.
Wow, amazing. Good work that you do, especially with kids. And I spoke to you about getting this in for the adults. I mean, I will take, if they let me in, I will take this book into the cancer wars. I'm a registered nurse, as everybody knows, and in my neck of the woods, they're just not too open to the tapping, but I'm finding that it's becoming more and more recognized. So Yeah, I'm
Yes,
taking
it
this
is.
book.
Yeah, and I wrote the book, The Dragon with Flames of Love, for various reasons. One, to honor the children who have been my most amazing teachers. I mean, I've learned more with them than I think anybody in the world. And, with some of the most difficult topics, it makes you realize that, the tapping process is the same with something simple as with something difficult. And it's just to get in and start working with it. And then, so the book is to honor them as the stars for teaching me the things that they taught me and allowing me to do that. And then it's for the other children who have the same sort of needs and gives them a tool as to how they can do this. For their parents who are also stressed and worried and trying to figure out how to help them. For the nurses and the medical staff, because when I get a chance, I work with them as well.
Good
And
for
then
you.
on another level, on another level, it's really interesting because I had a woman, one of my clients called and she says, I just got your book, it's beautiful. She said, I am just completely overwhelmed. And I said, okay, I'll be free in 2 hours. But in the meantime, look at the story about Hilda and the balloons. So she went and did that type. She said, oh, I'm fine. So you don't even have to have an illness because a lot of these stories are based on removing your fears or removing your anxieties or things like not wanting to go. Well, that could be not wanting to go to work, not wanting to go to the dentist, not wanting to go to the hospital. So they're very specific, but yet they're also general. And I made them in a way so that people could modify them and tweak them to fit their needs. And so that was my intention behind the book.
Awesome. Speaking of which, you tapping on these children, you asked us to mention Diego because I'm glad you clarified that. He's the 4-year-old you're working with, and I was reading in the book here about Diego, you said the teenager.
Yes.
So, and then Sandy still got that question about the cells and talking to them. So we've got so much to talk about here.
Yes. Okay. What part would you like? That I speak about Diego first, or that I speak a little bit more about cells?
Sandy?
I think speaking with the cells is important, but no, Diego's story is interesting as well. So that's fine. Because I think you wanted to also touch on the freeze aspect, and did that tied into Diego?
It didn't tie into Diego so much. It ties in to me more with parents than with the children. Okay. So I'll start with the freeze aspect because basically our stress response is to fight, flight, which everybody knows about, but there's the third one, there's freeze. Okay? So we either fight to survive or or we run away from it, we escape it, we do anything to avoid it. And then there's the freeze response where you just don't do anything. It's the deer in the headlight kind of thing. You don't move. And I see that a lot with the parents because they're so overwhelmed by their child being there. And I would imagine anyone who has cancer is an adult as well. I don't see it as often in children because children are they're different somehow. I don't see them so much into the freeze, okay? Because kids like to play. Whether they're sick or not, they like to play. And that overrides a lot of things that adults do to themselves. So I see this more in adults. So I'll mention it to parents, but it also relates to adults who have an illness. There's an aspect of we go into freeze. We just don't move. We don't do anything. And I will see parents sitting at the side of their child not doing anything. They can't think, they can't move, they can't help their child because they're just completely overwhelmed by everything that's going on. And so they do nothing. And of course, then it creates that aspect of being upset with themselves because they're not doing anything, or worried because they don't know what to do, or they don't know how to do something. So there's an aspect of the book was being written as well to help these parents have a tool so that, instead of saying, well, you do EFT better than I do, well, here, read this script. It's an overview. It's an idea of how to use this tapping on these specific issues. It's a way for them to connect with their child because they're reading together. It's a way that they're both doing tapping together, which is useful for both. So that helps the parent get out of their fight, their flight, or their freeze. It helps them get calm. It helps them connect and help their child get calm. So it has multiple uses in that aspect. So tapping is wonderful as well to help us get out of that freeze mode. And that's really an important aspect, of this process. Okay?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I've experienced that myself, with being in that freeze mode and needing to make decisions, and you're either overwhelmed or so much information is coming to you and you don't know which direction to go, and just
Yes.
simply, tapping on the points, or I find the karate chop or the 9 gamut,
Yeah.
if you, or just even, I just sometimes just rub it, the 9 gamut, and that just, uh, and then it kind of clears your mind so you can focus. And, as a parent, I think that you're doing the best you can for your child, and you have
Absolutely.
that guilt, especially if something doesn't go right, or what if I'm making the wrong decision.
Yes.
It's very, very
Right.
challenging.
But there's also the aspect, is it my fault? Did I do something,
Oh, yeah.
that created this, either emotionally or physically?
Mhm.
And then the overwhelm of what to do. And it is really, you are overwhelmed with information. And we all know that when you're super stressed and overwhelmed, you don't make good decisions,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So you need EFT in this aspect as a great tool to help you calm yourself down so you get the clarity and you can filter through all that information and make a good decision. So this is why it's important for the parents to use the tapping aspect as well, because it helps them have clarity. It helps them have clarity in how to help their child, and then it makes the process better. Okay? Plus,
And
it
I think that
calms
it
them.
also, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It calms them, so when they're being given the information, when the doctors are coming in or the nurses to give them additional information, it helps them absorb the information
Yes.
and differentiate what is being said, and to lead to that good decision. So,
Yes.
Sure, sure, yeah.
we all sit worrying about when the doctor, we know the doctor's going to do their rounds, and they're going to come in and they're going to bring test results, or they're going to bring other information to us, and that's stressful. So we can tap before the doctor even comes in and get ready for that appointment, or that chat with them. So,
Sure. It
Exactly.
makes your mind clearer as well. When I got my diagnosis, I went right into shutdown. I told my husband, "You're going to have to think for me now because I can't seem to do it." And
Yeah.
it's that part of the brain that just goes into la la land. And
Well, it's a defense mode, and it's a natural defense mode that's been there for eons.
yeah, yeah,
One of the things that we do. And so it's learning how to not override it, but work with it so that it doesn't take control of you, that you still are empowered enough to make the decisions to calm yourself. And I always talk with the parents because they always want to put their child first.
yeah,
And I'm saying this isn't egotistical, but you need to take care of yourself first. Because if you come in here all stressed out and worried, your child knows it. They
yeah.
feel it, they recognize it, and that's not helping your child. And then if
Right.
you keep not taking care of yourself, you come with a cold, and then you affect everybody in the ward because their defenses aren't very strong. So it has a double aspect of why you should take care of yourself. And I said, and when you calm yourself and you're in a good space, your child perceives it. And so then you're calm, and then your child gets calmer. It's a nice cycle that runs through, and so it's a really good thing to do as far as being able to take care of them. And I tell the parents all the time, I said, if I didn't take care of myself, and I came in here grumpy and upset, and, what good would I be doing for you guys? So I need to do this for myself every day. And I don't tell them anything to do anything that I don't do myself. And I tell them that. I
Wonderful.
practice what I'm asking you to do, and I've done it for a while, not just going, oh, I learned something new, and here, let's try it. It's something I've tried out for a while. And the parents who get it, it's really good. So we can kind of go into the Diego story, because Diego was, I think, about 2.5 when I started doing some tapping with him. And he would kind of play with it, and then he'd not want to do it, and things like that. And then one day his mom said, Diego was really upset, and all of a sudden he just started tapping on his own. I'm a good kid, and even though I'm upset and I don't want to be upset, I'm a good kid, or he was mad or something like that. I don't remember the exact words anymore. And his mom said he did like 1 or 2 rounds, and he just got up and he left. He was fine. So
Oh
he
my.
managed at that, around 3 years of age was this when this happened, to deal with that. So I was interviewed for a local newspaper, and the reporter asked Diego, he's now 4, well, when do you use tapping? He says, oh, I used it the other day. I had itching, and I tapped and it went away. I mean, just matter of fact, there was no where it came from, whatever. And his father said when he receives a certain medication within 2 to 3 days, he gets itching. So it's one of the consequences of the medication. And he says, yeah, he taps and it goes away. And so the reporter asked him, well, how did you guys get started tapping? Oh, because Diego taps, we started tapping. So the
That's
3-4-year-old
so amazing.
got them to start taking care of themselves. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
That is amazing. Wow. How wonderful.
I'd like to take a minute, and for any of our viewers that are just coming in on the show, that you're watching survivingthediagnosis.com, along with our guest, Deborah Miller, who has a Ph.D. in cell and molecular biology, and I'd like everyone to feel free to go to her website via our site, and that's survivingthediagnosis.com/Miller, and there'll be a link to her page where you can check out her 2 books that are written both in Spanish and English, correct, Deborah?
Yes.
And
yes.
They're available, and see some of the stories that she's sharing with us today on the website, and also she has a blog. So I just wanted to let everybody that was just coming in there it is. Yeah, it
There's
has
the book.
beautiful illustrations.
Oh, just beautiful. And since I got this on Amazon, I was so eager to get to it and read it, but I went camping this weekend. Boy, is that a great opportunity to read the books you want to. I'm always reading something I really don't want to, but it's essential for what work we're doing. But this one, and now I find that this is essential for the work we're doing also, because we're going to apply it to as many children as we know and their parents.
Yes.
And to people, also adults suffering from cancer. So it's amazing.
Yes.
Great book.
And I felt like I needed to write the book. I felt guided that this book has to come out. In September, I'll have been working with the children with cancer for 7 years. And I learned so much from them that I was like, there are more children in the world. There's more parents who need this information. There's more practitioners who want to use this. So let me start with something that will give them a little support and help with it. And so that's part of the reason the book came out. And I wanted it to just be amazing and beautiful and wonderful, not only with the love I put in it to write it, and with the knowledge I wanted to share, but also in the illustration and the design. And the 2 women who came in to help me with that just made me feel like it went over the top, just more than I could have dreamed of how the book would look. And I'm just so pleased with both Emily and Deborah for the illustrations and the graphic design.
It's amazing. I know you've been talking about putting it together for a couple years when you and I spoke about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And this labor of love has turned out to be, oh my gosh, as one of my coaches said, a download from the universe. It's just, I mean, it was meant to be.
Yeah. And I do want to take this out. I still love the children that I meet and I work with, but I also realize that it feels like it's time for me to take this into another arena, because there's so many people in the world, and cancer is, the cancer rates are rising exorbitantly, and it's part of the fact that we're not dealing with our emotions, and part of it is the fact of the food quality that we have. No, or not necessarily food quality. There's still good quality food out there, but we make bad choices. And most of us are not educated about what is good quality and not good quality. So we need to just re-educate people about what that is and how to take care of ourselves. And that kind of goes back to listening to our bodies and our cells again.
Right. If we listen, it will tell us, our bodies. But we have to really, go ahead.
Oh, it does. I'm just saying I agree. It does tell us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people out there, those headaches and those aches and pains, it's your body's telling you something. And the best way to get in tune with it is EFT. What does this mean? You know, and maybe before the end of the hour, Deborah can do a tapping with us.
Sure.
I know I would love it. I would
Sure, we
love
can
it.
play around with some. We'll see what shows up.
Sure, sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Be a
So,
pleasure.
let's
And if
see. Did we
anyone
talk
has
about?
questions, I'm sorry. That delay always gets us, Peggy.
Yes, it does. I defer to you.
I was just going to mention that any of the listeners, if you have any questions, you can go into the Q&A section and type in your questions, and we'll be happy to relay them to Deborah for answering for you on the show. And if you have any, by listening to the replay, you can always email us at hello@survivingthediagnosis.com, and we'll forward them on to Deborah to get those answered for you. I do have a question, Deborah, about the nutrition. How do you bring that topic up to the parents, or do you bring it up to the staff? How do you address that in helping people with cancer? Because I know when my mom was in the hospital recently, it kind of upset me with the seeing what was on her plate for her food. You know, the white bread, the processed gravy, and whatever else they wanted to call it. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's almost, for me, it was like counteracting what was going on. You want to heal her, but now you're feeding her this. So
Yeah, exactly.
how do you address that? Or I know
It,
nutrition is part of your
it's really
practice.
frustrating. You know, it starts with the fact that in this hospital they use, I want to do unicel, I'm doing in Spanish here, the styrofoam plates for their food. And styrofoam is known that when you put hot food on it, it releases carcinogenic substances.
Exactly.
So it's not even just what's on the plate, it's what they're using for the plate. But I also know there's a certain aspect, I can't change what the hospital's going to do, but I can start getting them to think about what they feed their child at home. Right?
Yeah.
And so I have to start there. And many children here are used to drinking flavored water, as they call them. So they may have watermelon in it, or melon, or they make a rice drink, and so it's usually always sweetened. And so there's a lot of sugar, and so I keep telling them just simple things like starting to drink more water, getting their children to drink pure water. And I know kids who didn't. It was sodas. That was all they drank. They didn't drink water. And so getting them to even just start that is a nice way to help them. And then many parents are frustrated because the nutritionist in the hospital and the doctors usually say, your kid needs to eat more vegetables. Period. No more information, Well, the nutritionist will give some. But then the parents are frustrated. My kid doesn't eat vegetables. So how am I going to get more vegetables into my kid? And I was already doing green drinks and things at that point. So then I started looking for others that, kind of have the fruit and the vegetables together, because most of the kids in the hospital will eat fruit. And at least they have fresh fruit. And here in Oaxaca, the fruit is fresh because it's just all over the place. So there's at least that benefit. So started just having them making some more fruit drinks, and maybe just having a little bit of some green leaf, something spinach or lettuce, something really simple that doesn't have a strong taste, to start increasing the amount of vegetables. And then just started talking to them about, well, what are they eating? And they don't really even know how to define what a carbohydrate is, many of them, And I was like, oh, you had potatoes, you had tortillas, and you had some rice. Those are all more on the sugar things, and trying to get them to understand what a sugar is and how that affects particularly tumors, and how that's detrimental to their child's health, and that they can make better choices and within the parameter of what they have. And so then the book came out because I was giving just a handout with a few recipes on it to some of the parents. Give this a try. And the reason I did it as well is everybody in Mexico has a blender, or at least 99% of the people have a blender. There are little markets everywhere with fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. And it's really economical. And many of these people come from poor villages, and so they don't have a lot of money. And so I wanted them to have something practical. I mean, there's great vitamins, there's great minerals, there's great herbs out there, but they don't have the money for it. So let's start with something simple, and it's really basic. And so it's going back to the basics, really. And so here's a way you can mix a few things in a blender, so then it's kind of pre-digested, so then their child who's already having trouble digesting things because of the chemo and the other treatments and the illness that they have, it's easier in their digestive system. So I talked to them about that. I talked to them about the fact that the vegetables, etc., bring in more vitamins and minerals that their child needs. And so I said, start slow, you know, and so have them do a few. And there's a child, his name is Aldo, and he just went into, you know, vigilance, so he's kind of passed all his treatments, and he's been doing really well. And he started within a couple of weeks of doing green drinks, his hemoglobin levels went from 5 to 12 and stayed. You know, and so
yeah.
And he was struggling to keep them up, and he keeps doing the green drinks, and he's doing other things, and it's not the only thing he's doing, that and tapping. He does other things as well. But it's good, and he took it on. And the kids who take it on, you really see a difference. And the parents who take it on, you really see a difference.
Wonderful.
I think too that what people need to understand is it's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. Healthful life changes. You know, It's not just I'm going to do this for a couple of weeks and then go back to the way I used to do things. It's the way you're going to be living your life, and it's a choice.
It is a choice, but most people don't know what choice to make.
Right.
You know, they eat what's there. They think what they're eating is good, but it's deep fried, or, you know, they don't know what the source is. You know, they're eating margarine instead of, you know, really good pure butter and things like that. So it's educating them on how to do that. And I agree that it's a lifestyle change. And most of the reason that we don't do well on our diets, etc., is that we do all or nothing, and our body says, their body is speaking to us again, I can't do it this fast nor this way, and I'm going to quit, right? Because now we have the physical part, the body can't handle the change, and we have the emotional part, because we're used to your candy or your potato chips or whatever your favorite treat is, and our body says, I can't do this. It's just too fast. So I say, start drinking more water. You know, do a green drink a week or 2 a week. And use that as a way. So what you're doing is you're adding instead of taking away, because nobody likes to deny themselves of anything. And so once you start adding these things, what happens is you naturally stop wanting the things that aren't so good for you. And when you don't, you can tap on what's the emotional aspect that keeps you tied to that, and then you can tie those two things together, tapping on the emotional need for those things. And then it is a gradual shift. And I think about what I was eating even 2 years ago and what I eat now, it's even a greater difference. And I was like, wow, you know, if I made somebody start doing what I do right now, they would go, oh, no. But I worked into it, and now I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And my body loves it. It goes, this is alive, this is real, this is feeding me. And then I do the emotional part of, where am I not feeling fed emotionally? Or where do I feel deprived, or where do I feel sad, or where do I feel isolated or angry or frustrated with things? So then I tie those two together. Okay? And they feed off each other as well, because when your body is not well nourished, your emotions get really out of whack. And so, you know, you get sad faster, you get angry faster, you feel everything in a more traumatic way. And when you're balanced emotionally, so you deal with the emotional part, and then you balance on the physical part, then the two come together, and it's not like you don't get angry, you don't get sad, but you have a spike instead of a high rise of anger that stays for a long period of time, that takes forever to go away, and then the resentment stays, etc., etc. So then you go, whoop, oh, okay, I got angry, all right, well, okay, what's the reason? Okay, it was legit, but I don't have to stay there. But it balances because of the two, because, again, we're talking to our bodies, right, on the emotional part. Right. What are the emotional reasons? What's the underlying patterns that I have that I learned as a child? And then the physical, so that the body can actually make what it needs to make to produce the happy hormones and everything that we need to stay in a good space. They're so integrated and so tied together that we need to pay attention to both aspects.
Absolutely. I was wondering if you could give us an example of a script that you have in your book and how you do it with the children. I was reading the tappings that you do with the kids, and we've talked to people on our program about tapping and what it does for the body and the emotions, but hearing it from you, you're pretty much covering it all right there. But just a sample script, and I would just like to remind people that you're listening to and watching survivingthediagnosis.com with Sandy Conkar and myself, Peggy Mangan, and our very special guest, Deborah Miller, Ph.D., who works with very ill children down in Oaxaca, Mexico. And she's talking about feeding the body, and it's really, really important, and also tapping on the body. So we're going to let her go ahead and give us an example.
All right, well, let's create something. What kind of thing would we like to focus on? Is it more of listening to an ache in the body? So we can just make up an issue at the moment, and then just do a little bit of tapping on it, and I'll see what kind of comes up.
Okay, Sandy, do you have anything that you'd like to focus on?
Let's see. An ache in the body. Just, I mean, for me personally, I've got tension in my shoulders. That's usually where I hold things.
Okay, yeah. We can kind of look at that. We can look at that and just where I think a lot of people right now are feeling tired. They're just exhausted. Everybody's overwhelmed and exhausted.
Overwhelmed, yeah, overwhelmed and exhausted. That's a good one. That's a good one.
So let me tie those together, and this is off the cuff, so we'll just play. Okay, yeah. My way of tapping has become very story-like, and so it has kind of a different flow than some of the kind of traditional tapping with even though I have this and then repeat the phrase. So let's just see what comes up. Would one of you or both of you want to be an echo?
Sure. Why don't you, Sandy, and I'll just borrow benefits. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
Okay.
I'm game for anything.
Great. Okay, good. Let's just start with the karate chop point. Okay. Okay. So even though I have all this tension.
Even though I have all this tension.
And all these worries.
All these worries.
And sometimes I am completely overwhelmed.
And sometimes I'm completely overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed, I can't listen to my body.
So overwhelmed, I can't listen to my body.
I still love and accept myself.
I still love and accept myself.
Even though I have all this tension and overwhelm.
Even though I have all this tension and overwhelm.
And my body is feeling that stress.
And my body is feeling that stress.
I love and accept myself and my body.
I love myself and my body.
And even though I have all this overwhelm.
And even though I have all this overwhelm.
And it's overwhelming my defenses.
And it's overwhelming my defenses.
My body is saying, stop.
My body is saying, stop.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore.
It is too stressful.
It's too stressful.
But I still love and accept myself.
I still love and accept myself.
Okay, let's go up to the eyebrow. All this overwhelm.
All this overwhelm.
And all this stress.
And all this stress.
Side of the eye. My body is showing me.
My body is showing me.
By the tension in my shoulders.
By the tension in my shoulders.
Sometimes the headaches.
Sometimes it's headaches.
Sometimes stomach aches.
Sometimes it's stomach aches.
Oh, achy joints.
Achy joints.
Not wanting to get up in the morning.
Not wanting to get up in the morning.
Underneath the eye. My body is telling me every day.
My body is telling me every day.
Why it doesn't like overwhelm.
Why it doesn't like overwhelm.
And underneath the nose. And it's telling me pretty clearly.
And it's telling me pretty clearly.
With all my tension.
With all my tension.
And maybe even anger.
And maybe even anger.
Or sadness.
Or sadness.
Or just not wanting to get up in the morning.
Or just not wanting to get up in the morning.
Because I don't have the energy.
Because I don't have the energy.
And underneath the lips. My body keeps talking to me.
My body keeps talking to me.
And I keep trying to override it.
And I keep trying to override it.
I just keep pushing on.
I just keep pushing on.
And then the collarbone. My body keeps telling me, take a rest.
My body keeps telling me to take a rest.
Breathe deeply.
Breathe deeply.
Tap.
Tap.
Anything to relax.
Anything to relax.
And underneath the arm. And sometimes I listen.
And sometimes I do listen.
And sometimes I don't.
And sometimes I don't.
I have a schedule I have to complete.
I have a schedule that I have to complete.
Even though my body says stop for 5 minutes.
Even though my body says stop for 5 minutes.
Top of the head. I don't even listen when it says stop for 5 minutes.
I don't even listen when it says stop for 5 minutes.
It's not saying take a day off.
It's not saying take a day off.
It's just saying take 5.
Take 5.
Ah, my poor body.
My poor body.
It just keeps trying to tell me what it needs.
It keeps trying to tell me what it needs.
Inside of that. And somehow I don't listen to it.
And somehow, in some reason, I don't listen to it.
I mean, I hear it.
I hear it.
And I feel it.
And I feel it.
And I recognize those aches and tiredness.
And I recognize those aches and tiredness.
And underneath the eye. But I don't usually listen to it.
But I don't usually listen to it.
Maybe until I have a cold.
Maybe until I have a cold.
Or the flu.
Or the flu.
Or some illness.
Or some illness.
That makes me pay attention.
That makes me pay attention.
Okay. Underneath the nose. I would like to start listening to my body.
I would like to start listening to my body.
Really listen to what it's telling me.
Really listen to what it's telling me.
And underneath the lips. And give it what it needs.
And give it what it needs.
If it really needs 5 minutes.
If it really needs 5 minutes.
I could find 5 minutes.
I can find 5 minutes.
Okay. And collarbone. Much better than waiting till I get ill.
Much better than waiting till I get ill.
And then I have to take a break.
And then I have to take a break.
Because I won't have a choice.
I won't have a choice.
I will have to deal with it.
I will have to deal with it.
Underneath the arm. Much better if I just take those 5 minutes.
Much better if I take the 5 minutes.
And listen to my body.
And listen to my body.
And top of the head. So I choose right now.
So I choose right now.
To give my body these 5 minutes of tapping.
To give my body these 5 minutes of tapping.
Or sometimes only a round or two.
And sometimes maybe just a round or two.
It's just enough.
It's just enough.
To cut the stress.
To cut the stress.
And eyebrow. And let my body relax.
And let my body relax.
To calm down.
To calm down.
To regroup.
To regroup.
Side of the eye. So body, thank you for giving me all these signals.
So body, thank you for giving me all these signals.
I so appreciate you for that.
I so appreciate you for that.
Underneath the eye. And I choose to be a better listener.
And I choose to be a better listener.
I really want to listen to what you need.
I really want to listen to what you need.
And under the nose. And not only just listen.
And not only just listen.
But provide you with what you need.
But provide you with what you need.
And chin, maybe that's more water.
And maybe that's more water.
Maybe that's more rest.
Maybe it's more rest.
Maybe it's a 5-minute break.
Maybe it's just a 5-minute break.
Collarbone. Maybe it's 3 rounds of tapping.
Maybe it's 3 rounds of tapping.
Every hour.
Every hour.
It's only 2 minutes.
And that's only 2 minutes.
Underneath the arm. Body, I'd like to give you that.
Body, I would like to give you that.
It would feel so good to give you that.
It would feel so good to give you that.
On top of the head. Because I really love you, body.
Because I really love you, body.
You are my home.
You're my home.
You are where I live.
You're where I live.
Okay. An eyebrow. And I'd like to take care of you.
And I would like to take care of you.
Okay. Side of the eye. So I choose to take care of you.
So I choose to take care of you.
A few more rounds of tapping every day.
A few more rounds of tapping every day.
Maybe a little bit more water.
Maybe a little bit more water.
And a few more 5-minute breaks.
And a few more 5-minute breaks.
And underneath the eye. And I love myself enough to want to do that.
And I love myself enough to want to do that.
And underneath the nose. And my cells hear me.
And my cells hear me.
And they feel me.
And they feel me.
And they listen to me.
And they listen to me.
Okay. And the chin. And the beauty about cells is.
And the beauty about cells is.
They're not made to die.
They're not made to die.
They're made to do everything to live.
They're made to do everything to live.
And thrive.
And thrive.
And collarbone. And I choose to do my part.
and I choose to do my part
to help my cells thrive.
to help my cells thrive.
Okay, and underneath the arm. So I do my tapping
So I do my tapping
to help my cells feel happier,
for my cells to feel happier,
because I'll be happier.
because I'll be happier,
And I'll eat good food
and I'll eat good food
to give my body good fuel.
to give my body good fuel.
Okay, and top of the head. And I choose to rest when I need to as well.
And I choose to rest when I need to as well.
Because body, I really want to take care of you
Because body, I really want to take care of you
by listening to you
by listening to
and
you
honoring you
and honoring you
and loving you.
and loving you.
Okay, let's take a deep breath. How does that feel?
Tingly all over. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
That was great.
It's so important for that just a minute or two, a couple rounds, and that's it. That's
We make it complicated by saying, well, I need an hour because I need to do a full session.
yeah.
I don't have an hour, but I can do a round. I can do 2, and usually that's enough to cut the edge, and then I plan my time to do my hour. And I do exchanges with other people, and I do 1, usually 2 a week. So I gift myself that, because I can do the tapping obviously on my own, but there's something about when you work with someone else and they lead you through it that is so honoring of that tribal, that need to connect within us. And it always goes deeper.
Right.
So I recommend that people do that. Do your self work, and whether it's the 2 rounds on your own, and then schedule, time to go camping, time to get out and play and touch Mother Earth. I mean, that's beautiful. It's wonderful for our health. And then, do the things you can to take care of yourself physically.
Sure. Yes, that is wonderful advice. It's wonderful advice. I felt very renewed after this weekend of camping. Came home with dirty toes. My husband said, "Well, you sure messed up your pedicure." I said, "I'm happy."
You probably had the best pedicure in the world, touching Mother Earth barefoot. I mean,
exactly.
They find the grounding effect of Mother Earth actually removes pain. It reduces free radicals in the body. So there is a physical need as well as an emotional need to connect with Mother Earth. So.
Exactly. I also have an oak tree in the back of my house that if it's too cold up here in Michigan to be in my bare feet, I go out and give her a good hug.
Yeah.
Almost every day.
Yeah. That's good.
So, yeah, that was a great tapping. I got great benefit from it. And I hope people at home did the same. I hope they tapped along and borrowed benefits. I don't know. I'm just so excited about your book, Deborah. Like I said, I'm going to try to take it into the adult cancer wards. I haven't gotten into with the children much. As you know, I kind of like to give back into the area that I received my healing from. So I'll be taking it to the university and the whole deal. So
that's
again,
wonderful.
Yeah. And everybody, this is, I don't know, how am I doing on that, guys?
You need to go back a little bit. Better back than too close. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. This is Deborah's book, and it's The Dragon with Flames of Love, and there's a boy in there that she writes about that this was his power animal, and how he chose to tap and get himself well. And I have my power animal, and I didn't even know I had it, but I use it now when I tap, and believe it or not, it's a little bitty hummingbird, but very powerful.
I love hummingbirds.
Yeah, they're very powerful little guys. So beautiful book, beautiful book. I wanted to show people this little guy with his little eyes of oh shoot, where is that?
You think about Javier?
I think so. What page is he on? His big brown eyes. There he is. Is it this
here.
one?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Here's Javier.
Look at his beautiful eyes. I was saying to Deborah that he wants to break out in a big smile, and he's got Tappy
Yeah.
Bear right there with him. But you can see, I'm not well, I don't feel well. And Deborah goes on to tap with him
Yeah.
and make them feel better. Look at him now.
And
Woohoo!
and I loved what the artist did with this because I had originally thought he would be running next to the cheetah, and she actually put him on the cheetah.
How
And
cool.
behind it, if you look carefully, there's little hearts, and she calls it heart wind. And so
Wow.
she just created all these details. He looks so free and so
Yes, he
happy.
does.
And
And so
and this is what I want for these children, is that they have the freedom. They have the freedom to choose how they feel, because they can be in a hospital and be miserable, or they can start choosing to focus on something that's better. And so, as we all know, tapping is a wonderful tool to help us feel better. And when you can manage having an IV put in, or a spinal tap, or just having to go in for your treatments and being okay in the hospital, and choosing to bring your happiness with you wherever you are, and that's a lesson for anybody, because we get stuck in a traffic or something, and we bring our anger with us instead of choosing to be okay.
right,
So these lessons
right.
are for everybody, but this is a very intense place to be, and so we need some tools to help us deal with it.
And these children have been so fortunate to have had you at their side for 7 years. Has it been 7 years? Yeah.
September will be
Just
7 years, yes.
yeah,
So I'm
so amazing, and you've done wonderful work, and I think that this book is really going to make a huge difference. Again, not only for children but for adults too.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's good reading.
I'm glad you
It
enjoyed it,
is.
Peggy.
I
I'm
did,
very happy that
totally.
you enjoyed it.
I love it.
I'm going to screen share your website here, Deborah, because what
Okay.
I've noticed is, excuse me, oh, hang on one second.
Oops.
Yeah, that's survivingthediagnosis.com.
That's a good page too. You come back to that.
Yeah, / Miller, and you'll get the link to your site. But let me,
And you can go get it.
yeah, I just went off of it, so bear with me here, because I wanted to ask you on the, let me go. There
We'll
we
get you
go.
there first.
All right, I'm getting there. And
Yeah, technology plays with us sometimes.
Oh,
my
yeah.
cursor had a little mind of its own at the moment.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. But I wanted to also, I noticed on the site right here,
Yes.
is you have a big heart that says donate.
Yes.
Yes.
How would you like to talk about that for a minute and how that benefits your project?
Well, one of the things is that there's a lot of, expenses that go into, the life of these children. And so a lot of times people want to participate, but they're not here, or they don't know how to participate. And so I put the donate button on. And sometimes what people will do, instead of buying a book and mailing it to me, they'll go into the donate button and they'll donate the quantity that is needed for a book or a couple of books, and then I'll just purchase them and then donate those books to the children. Or sometimes it's like one time people donated to help me get a blender for a family that didn't have one because theirs broke and they didn't have any funds to get a new blender. And so I just use it for the children, and sometimes they don't have money for the bus to get to the hospital or whatever. And so I use the donate money in those aspects of how can I best help them.
Okay.
And of late, most people have been donating books, and then I give them. Because there's about, I think the number right now is on the active list is around 130 kids. And so my goal is I would love to give each child their own copy of the book so that they can use it and work with it. And then there's another hospital nearby. And as well, if people want to just kind of, get a copy of the book, take it into the library at a hospital or another place that they know that it could be useful, or if they know a family that has a child with illness, provide them with a tool.
Yeah.
And the book is one. If anybody wants to do private tapping, I can do that. We can set up a session, etc. Or if families want to get together, those are other options that I'm open to. So
Wonderful.
this is the way that I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that the work that Peggy and I do on surviving the diagnosis on our open discussions and in our membership is that we have, excuse me, the members come together in little groups, and we can help people, on a more intimate level, and bringing the patient, the family caregiver, and how I refer to that, because I relate more easily with the moms, the dads, the sisters, the brothers, and even the friends, and just bring them all together, because we're all dealing with this diagnosis on all levels. And sometimes, as we've said on the show, as a family caregiver, as the mom, of course, my focus is going to be on my kids. As a daughter, my focus is on my mom and not so much on myself. And it's so important for those that are not the patient to understand your emotional health is just as important as your patient's.
And the other siblings, particularly with the case of children. I've had cases where the other siblings were jealous of the child who had the illness because they got all the attention. It was needed attention, but they still felt deprived, and they got to the point where they hated leukemia, which essentially means they hated their sister, because you can't really separate the two on that energetic, emotional level, and it became a huge trauma, because how do you manage that? How do you manage all the emotions that go along with all of that, and how do you help those children be participators and honored in the process, even though they're not the one that has the serious illness? And it's important that they get taken care of, as well as the caretakers get taken care of, as well as the nurses, because they're the ones that are daily in the ward with the kids and working with them on that aspect. And so they have a huge weight that goes with them as well.
Oh yeah, the caregivers of the medical profession is so overlooked. It's so and they're I don't want to say that they're cold, but sometimes they come across that way because they have so much going on. They have so many patients.
They have to.
It's a protective mechanism. Yes.
Yes, it is. They've had so much pain, and this is another piece of our work, Deborah, that Sandy and I are reaching out to the medical profession, nurses, doctors, first responders. We would like to help them deal with these traumas that they've gone through and they're still holding on to. Until I worked with Sandy, I was holding several patients in my heart that just lived there. And I had to let them go. Yeah. And it's very needed in the medical community.
It's very needed. And as a practitioner who works with serious illness as well with EFT, I too have lost some of my favorite kids. You shouldn't have favorites, but they just are. It's life, because they're just special and wonderful. And learning how to release that and be okay. And the nurses, it was the same thing that happened to me. Like, this kid is on his way out, and you turn around and this kid is surviving, and you need to be able to shift that quickly from one bed to the next all day long. And it's a huge emotional tug of war all day long. So working with the nurses, I found, has been absolutely amazing. And I had a chance to work with a group of about 6 of some of the residents in the pediatric area. They weren't in onco, and they just loved it. They're like, wow.
Yeah. Exactly. And when you dump that,
of exams, learning things, how to calculate everything, being responsible for the diet, for the meds that they give out and things. So it was fabulous. It was fantastic that it happened, that I got a chance to do that with them. So whenever I can, I take advantage of that. And and work with the nurses and the medical staff.
You are so amazing. You're my hero.
Thank you, Peggy.
You are. Do you mind if we send this hangout to various people around the community, like the
Absolutely.
hospital? Okay.
Absolutely. Feel
It'll
free
be going.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I think it's important that we share the information, and that,
Yes.
you know, I feel I'm very special in the aspect that I got this opportunity to be in a hospital, in the cancer ward with these children for so long, that to not share what I've learned, that would feel more criminal than sharing it, because people need to know there are options. EFT isn't the only option, but it's a beautiful one, and it's fast, and it's powerful, and it's empowering, and it's something that parents can do for themselves. They can do it with their children. They can do it with their whole family. And this is one of the things that I really like about it. It's fast, and it's simple, and it's easy, and we need things that people can take home and use, because a tool isn't good if it's just sitting there and not being used. So we need tools that are really effective. And sometimes, you know, when you're in a hospital ward, they're taking the kid's on a gurney. He's on his way to surgery, and I have a minute to tap. And sometimes that's enough. The surgeon comes back and goes, "What did you do with that kid? He was so calm." You know? So a minute can mean the difference, you know, for these kids and for their families. So, you know, take your 2 minutes and do your tapping. It's worth it.
I think that it's important as well for a parent to understand that if you are overwhelmed or, you know, needing to do tapping and bring down whatever you're feeling in the moment, that if you begin to tap and your child sees that, they're going to follow what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And, you know, they're not going to know what they're doing maybe at first, but as they tap, then they're just going to mimic you. And say,
well, the
and
thing with kids like Diego, I mean, they're 2- and 3-year-olds. They don't understand the concept of tapping at all, and they don't need to. All they know is when they do it, they feel better. That's all they need to know. When they're older, I explain more, and that's lovely, and it's fun, and then they can start having goals, and they can learn how to use it as a great tool. But those little ones, they don't, and even parents and the older ones don't need to know anything about how it releases, you know, reduces cortisol levels in your body. They don't need to know any of that. They can tap and feel better. That's the bottom line. We want them to feel better.
Exactly. Beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. Wow. Well, it looks like we're at the end of our hour and over, but it's been so wonderful to be talking with Deborah Miller. And again, people, her book is do I have it, guys?
The Dragon Flames Love, yes.
Yeah, there it is. And yeah, it was a good hangout.
It is. And thank you for the tapping. I totally appreciate it. Most definitely.
Oh, you're welcome.
And again, just letting our listeners know to go to survivingthediagnosis.com/Miller, and some of the resources that we mentioned will be up on that page shortly, that you can click on and click through. But Deborah's website is there already, and that is www.oaxaca and the word project, project.com. And, you know, check out her book and donate if you can, because she has that going to great cause. And Deborah, thank you again. I really appreciate the tapping. I feel a lot more relaxed. You probably hear it in my voice and my mannerism. I'm just kind of like la la.
Oh, here I am.
I can see it, Sandy.
Yeah.
You look so. Yeah, you look. So much
rested.
Rested. Yeah, you got a quick rest there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. So, but I'd like to thank you again. And as always, Peggy and I like to leave our audience with is a message that you're not alone. Your dreams and your desires are always within you and within reach. And you can choose to live in freedom and peace. So have a great week, everyone. And
have a great week. We're right here with you every Monday morning. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.